Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibes, and I'd love to welcome here Lannette West. And she was a star of a show called MILF Manor. Did I get that correct?
MILF Manor season 2. Yes.
Okay, well,
Mhm.
I'm kind of curious. I'd like to know about that. But before we talk about it, let's find out a little bit more about you.
Sure. Yeah. I'm a North Carolina native, born and raised. Went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Go Heels. I've been in the professional workspace, like the corporate grind, if you will, for about, oh God, almost 30 years now. And I live now in Cary. I am officially an empty nester as of August of this year, so not very long. I'm still kind of leaning into it. And I had just a very unlikely path to reality stardom. So it wasn't something I was necessarily looking for. It kind of found me, and I just went with it.
So, what in the world is MILF Manor anyway?
I know it sounds like some kind of porn site or something, but it's not. It's not. Okay. There was some things going on in the house, though. I will say that. Not me personally. I exited the show a little early. Spoiler alert. But it's a show by TLC. It streams on HBO and Max. That's my plug. Um, and it was about a group of older women, MILFs, obviously with children, that were dating younger men. And these men, when I say younger, were significantly younger in their early to mid 20s. And then on day two, here's another spoiler alert, their fathers show up and their fathers become part of the dating pool. So you can imagine the drama and the, chaos that ensued.
Yeah, I'll tell you real quick. I did a reality show where we were
Oh,
going to build bars for people in their homes.
oh,
And I
cool.
did the pilot, but it didn't get picked up. Uh,
Mhm.
I knew it wasn't going to work because they didn't let us be ourselves. And I
Hmm.
found out reality TV is not reality.
Well, that's fair. I will say there was some direction or some guidance given by the producers on site, but I can say that people showed up as who they are. You know
Uh,
what I mean? And maybe one or two might have had more scripted roles, but I can speak for myself, and I was on my best behavior too, most times, let's be real, because you're aware, obviously, that there are cameras capturing your every move. But after a couple days, you just kind of get used to it. And my words were my words. There were a couple times where, maybe a producer would say, "Hey, Lynette, you might want to go check that out." And then they would get my reaction. But my reaction was my reaction. Nobody ever told me what to say or what to do. So from that perspective, it was fairly authentic, I think.
well, the biggest lesson I learned is you turn off your mic before you go to the bathroom.
We couldn't do that. We were
Really?
mic'd. Yeah, as
Oh,
you well know,
no.
you're mic'd from dawn to dusk, and we weren't allowed out of our rooms without a mic. And I mean, we couldn't turn it off.
Oh, no.
So we would go to the bathroom and be like, "Sorry, when Dad's going to the bathroom, I'll catch you in a few." Like we would warn them, but I'm sure it's all probably on a file somewhere.
Right. I read a little bit. Do you help people with addiction recovery?
Right. Yeah. I mean, not to sound too angelic or idealistic, but I've been doing several podcasts, and by several, I mean, I think I'm up to like 34 now, but just talking about it,
Okay.
giving it a voice. and maybe hopefully destigmatizing some of the shame and misconceptions around it,
Hmm.
and also trying to let people know that this is what addiction looks like and addiction recovery. And we're human, we're real people that deserve a second chance. And it's my hope that by sharing my experience and my trials and tribulations, that others can find some hope in that and
Hmm.
know that there is a light on the other end.
Well, do you mind sharing your story?
Sure, sure. Well, it all started back in college. That was when I was first exposed to my drug of choice, which was cocaine.
Ah, yes.
Um, I had a history of being, I guess, a party girl, a wild child. I mean, there wasn't any drug or alcohol I didn't do. Um, and at the time, I was so young and naive, I didn't know what motivated my behavior. I just was looking for some sort of peace and escape.
Right.
And it wasn't really until a few years ago that I realized what I was trying to escape from. So, without going into all of that, but it was some childhood trauma that had been repressed that was pretty horrific. And it wasn't until I got sober that it came forth and presented itself. And my brain released it so that I could understand what had been done. But I had dabbled with cocaine then. It was about a year or so, I guess, before I got pregnant with my son. And then once I got pregnant, all of that came to a screeching halt. And in retrospect, saved my life without a doubt. And I spent the next 25 plus years being a wife, a mother, a corporate go-getter. I was very ambitious. I was very motivated. And I didn't do drugs. I mean, I may have smoked weed here and there. I've personally never bought it, but I didn't have any kind of substance use issues. I drank and maybe sometimes even drank to excess, but never anything that interfered with my life or kept me from, doing the things I needed to get done. And it wasn't until I was going through my divorce and I was dating again and I was seeing this guy rather casually and he suggested this pool party at a friend's house from around the corner from where I live. And he said, by the way, there'll be powder there.
Mm.
And I went, ooh, wow. Haven't even thought of that in so many 25 years. And so I was like, that piqued my curiosity. And that was the beginning for me. It started with one bad decision that led to more bad decisions that led down a pathway of substance abuse. And it got pretty bad. I mean, I don't want to, say my time was worse than everybody else's or anything like that, but I was doing an inordinate amount of cocaine, and I had about $1,000 a week habit. I was I
Um,
was draining savings accounts, IRAs, mutual funds, 401ks, 529s, like all the money I had spent the past 30 years building, just and not only did it devastate me financially, it devastated me physically. I mean, I still have issues with my nose and my brain and my heart. Um, but it just about killed me. And it was a tough time. And it wasn't until I got sober that I realized, oh, okay, this is why I'm doing this. And then so I started to heal some of that underlying hurt and pain. And when I started doing that, it made giving up the drugs so much easier because the drugs are not the problem. They are a problem, but they are not the problem. The problem is what is driving you to want to escape. What is making you so uncomfortable, so miserable in your own skin that you want to do something that alters your brain chemistry in the first place? And so once I got to that and I started peeling back those layers, that's when the healing and the recovery really began.
wow. I started doing drugs at the age of 12
Mm,
and, of course, drinking, smoking weed. And that's all it was in the beginning.
hmm
And part of my problem was I had been bullied a lot and I
hmm
was trying to find a place to fit in.
mm
And the people that I fit in best with were the headbangers. And, you know, I changed my whole look because I used to be the real nerdy kid, the short haircut and the little polos and that kind of thing. And, you know, discovered heavy metal, and that was it. It was gone from there. And then it went from just doing it on the weekends to I would do it every day before I'd go to class.
Mhm.
And then it got to be where it was a habit. I couldn't live without it. By the
Mhm.
time I turned 36, I had a heart attack. And that's when I was like, maybe I need to give this up. And I didn't realize what I was doing to my children because
Mm.
they didn't see a dad who was sober. I was drunk all the time, or I was like you. I loved Coke.
Mm.
Coke, meth. It'd
Mm.
probably be a lot quicker to tell you the stuff I didn't try instead of the stuff that I did do,
Mhm.
And it's funny because just like you, when I finally sobered up,
Mhm.
then I was remembering all the things that happened to
Mhm.
me as a child, and I was
Mm.
molested as a little kid,
Mm.
and I speak up about it now because I know there's other guys out there, not taking
Mhm.
away from women, but there's
Mhm.
guys out
Mhm.
there that they don't want to admit that because it's embarrassing.
It is. Yeah, I get that.
But
I totally understand. There's so much shame wrapped up in all of this for men and women. But particularly, I can understand why it would be so shameful and so forbidden and so awful for men because you're supposed to be the strong ones. You're supposed to
exactly.
be the protectors, and here you are being victimized. It's not an easy hat to wear.
And you know, you you go through this, and if someone was to tell you, hey, you give this up because you're going to kill yourself, well, that's what I wanted.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wanted to die, just bring it on. I don't care.
Hmm.
Didn't care if I was going to die, but the heart attack and seeing the effect on my children, that's when it was like, hey, it's time to give it up.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, you couldn't want it enough for yourself, but you can definitely want it enough for your kids.
Yeah. So do you go and talk publicly, or is it just through podcasts and that kind of thing?
No, I mean that's one of my aspirations is to turn this into like a public speaking gig. It scares the shit out of me, I'm not gonna lie. But that kind of tells me that's probably what I need to do is what scares me is what I need to overcome and try. But I haven't had the opportunity to speak, live in front of folks yet. I've been doing this and sort of getting my feet wet through the podcast realm, and I've met some great folks along the way. Absolutely, some incredibly kind and compassionate and understanding folks like yourself who may or may not have experienced all the things I have, but they have an ability to be empathetic and understanding and kind, which is really nice. And I apologize for all of this going on behind me.
That's okay.
It's a TV for the Zoom, but I have the Zoom on my computer. So anyway, I apologize.
No problem, no problem.
It'll give
Um,
us some fancy colors. But
may,
mhm,
may I give a suggestion?
please.
Might be a good thing to start out talking at schools and get
Mm,
your feet wet there, and
mm-hmm.
then move up from that. The kids would
Absolutely.
benefit if they knew what they
Mm-hmm.
had to look forward to. It's like, hey, it might be fun in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but look where this could lead to. Because I
Mm-hmm.
my first marriage fell apart, and
Mm-hmm.
I just about lost everything. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, thank God that I'm back, and doing
Right,
better.
right.
But I still, like you, have health issues that I have to deal with, and
Mm-hmm.
I ended up with diabetes and all
Mm.
kinds of, blood pressure problems and that kind of thing. And then that in turn gave me I don't know how you want to the word I'm looking for, but
Mm-hmm.
I ended up developing a spinal disease because of it.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm
And,
sorry.
had to retire early. And I mean, I used
Mm-hmm.
to be a supervisor, and I can't even ride around in a truck telling people what to do anymore.
Damn it. Yeah, I mean, it literally wreaks havoc on every part of you,
Yeah.
every part of you. I mean, I'm sure you probably feel the same way. I mean, I feel like it's a blessing to be alive. I feel like I don't want to say a calling, but I feel motivated to get out here and talk about these things that people don't want to or don't like to talk about because I feel like I'm kind of living on borrowed time. So there's something I'm supposed to be here for. Like there's a
Exactly.
reason. I've got to give my existence a deeper meaning, than what I had before. And I feel like this is why I survived. So I can share my story as a cautionary tale and hopefully spare others the same kind of heartache and trauma that I endured. And to find people that have been down similar paths because I think so often we feel alone and we suffer in silence and I laugh and say I want to suffer out loud. I'm tired of suffering in silence. I want to talk about these things that nobody wants to talk about. You and I should probably talk offline because when I got sober I had this epiphany. It was really like a PowerPoint slideshow. I won't go into details unless you really want me to, but I know we have a finite amount of time here today. But um, and it was, these memories or flashbacks I had in isolation throughout my life.
Mhm.
Suddenly, when I got sober and I, was taking care of myself and showing myself some compassion and love, my brain was like, oh, she's ready. Let's give it all to her. And I started having the slideshow of these memories all together, one after the other, until I got it. It took me a few minutes. And that's when the realization came that my maternal grandfather had molested me as a very young child. And I had no inkling that this had happened to me. In fact, I can remember thinking along the way, oh, you know what? I've had so much shit happen to me. I've had so many things happen, but I was never molested or abused. I was never sexually assaulted. Like, how lucky am I? Like I was going through life feeling grateful that I hadn't had this thing happen to me. That's how clueless I was. And that was how much my brain protected me from that because it knew how devastating those memories would be to me. I mean, when it's too much, your brain just deletes it off the hard drive, and it sounds like you may have had something fairly similar, but I was almost 50 when that happened.
Wow. I I
So,
was almost 40 when it
mm-hmm,
hit me.
mm-hmm,
I ended up curled up in a ball in the closet, and my daughter found me. And
mm.
and I understand what you mean. It's like at the time, it was almost like, oh, I guess everybody goes through this,
Yeah.
and then I blocked it out,
Hmm.
and then it finally started hitting me.
Hmm.
Wait, this wasn't supposed to happen. And yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Your whole life just kind of goes in front of your face. And,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't care, man or woman, you need someone to talk to, and you find that person that you can talk to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because just being able to articulate it and share it is such a relief. It's like I liken it to packing bags in boxes and throwing them in the back of your brain because that's where all this shit's been stored. And I've been carrying that around. You've been carrying that around. It's heavy. It's a struggle. It makes you exhausted. And the more you start to unpack that stuff and toss it out, literally, there's a lightness to your step and your spirit that comes with that. And that's where I think the light comes from. That's where happiness and joy can be felt again. But when you're carrying all that around, it's miserable. It changes who you are. It ages you. It fatigues you. It continues to cloud your judgment and continues to allow you to be vulnerable to things like substance abuse disorder. And so, these people that think that you can just, okay, I'm not going to talk about it like it didn't happen, and that will just address it, and I don't have to worry about it. That's such a crock of those are the people that have real problems. Because until you can get real with yourself and real about what happened to you, only then can you be your authentic self. And that is where joy and peace live. When you are who you are and you can love all those parts of yourself, even the ugly stuff. Like I'm learning now to have compassion for myself. And that's something huge. I've never been nice to myself. My internal dialogue has always been incredibly vicious.
Oh, I know.
But when, right?
I
Right?
know.
And what that does to you, that takes a toll on you and it takes a toll on the people around you.
Yes.
And you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family and your friends to deal with this stuff. And the way I've chosen to deal with it, maybe I wouldn't recommend being quite so public about it. I get that. But find someone you can confide in and talk to, whether it's a therapist. I find it very beneficial to find that objective third party person that doesn't have a dog in the fight that can really give you some perspective. But if you have a close family member or friend, you have to get it off your chest and out of your mind.
I was that person that when I went to a therapist, I don't want you to throw pills at me. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I
Hmm.
want to, I've got to find an alternative because I'm an addict. You know,
Hmm.
I don't want you throwing more pills at me. And, I deal with pain every day. And I had to tell my therapist, hey, my pain management doctor, I don't want all these opioids and stuff because I know me, I'm going to
Yeah.
abuse it. And
Hmm.
they found an alternative for me.
Oh, good.
And you talking, I think, does more than any drug ever did. Some people, maybe they need it. And I'm
Hmm.
not
Right.
downplaying that at all.
Right.
I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what you need, but I just know for me, getting off of those antidepressants and stuff was
Hmm.
better than me being on them. So,
Yeah. Well, and you're right. I mean, it's a very personal decision that I think needs to be made with yourself and with consultation of, a professional. And you're right. I mean, I've done the whole gamut of medications. I think there's probably nothing I haven't tried.
yeah,
And but I have underlying mental health issues too. I've got bipolar 2 disorder. I've got ADHD. I probably have a little OCD mixed in too. I mean, I've got a whole library of things going on, right? But what I'm also finding too is the more that I deal with the underlying issues, the trauma from my childhood, not only that, but there's been more trauma in my life. When I start unpacking all of that, it it helps decrease the need for the medication,
right,
you know. But sometimes that's what you need to kind of help get you over that hump. So it's a short-term solution, right? The long-term solution is really doing the hard work of looking at yourself, talking it through, gaining an understanding, gaining a sense of self-respect again.
right.
That's the hard part. It's easy to take medication. It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and accept yourself
Yeah,
for all the good and all the bad. I mean, that's such a novel concept to me because I thought if I wasn't perfect, I was trash.
yeah,
And as we all know, perfection is unattainable. So what was I? I was trash, And so I encourage people that are struggling to really talk to somebody who has experience with this that can really guide you in the right ways. And you're right, there's no one size fits all here. It can be tailored to your personality, to your issues, whether you need medication or not, you
true.
know?
Very true. True. Now, how
Mhm.
can folks follow you?
Well, I'm on Instagram at Lannette, Lannette. It's a funky spelling. I can thank my mother for that. Dot West, so Lannette.West on Instagram. I'm getting my website up and going. It's LanetteWest.com. I'm in the construction phase there, so not too much to report. But if you want to reach out to me or DM me, feel free to on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate the conversation.
You're very welcome, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Of course. And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button. From our regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Till the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network